Recently, Italian prosecutors reopened one of the darkest allegations of the Balkan War, that wealthy Western foreigners, sniper tourists, as some called them, allegedly paid up to $90,000 to fire at civilians during the siege of Sarajevo and upwards of $100,000 to hunt children, a premium not to see landmarks, not to witness history, but to kill civilians, women, and children for sport, a human safari. And if you haven't already noticed, this was never left versus right, never one religion against another, never black versus white. This is the wealthy elite versus everyone beneath them. When power becomes absolute, morality becomes optional. Sarajevo, 1992. A modern European city transformed into a nightmare almost overnight. For 1,425 days, the city was surrounded and starved snipers lined the hills, firing at anyone below. Between 1992 and 1996, more than 10,000 Bosnians were killed by sniper fire alone. 10,000 lives ended by a trigger pull from afar. 10,000 families shattered in an instant. Crossing the street meant gambling with death. Fetching water meant stepping into a kill zone. Looking out a window could be fatal. But during this horror, a darker rumor began to spread. Not all the snipers were soldiers. Some were foreigners. Wealthy men who traveled into the war zone. Not to help, but to hunt. Italian investigators revived testimony describing something almost too disturbing to believe. According to multiple allegations under review, wealthy European sniper tourists from the United States, France, Germany, UK, and many other Western nations allegedly paid $90,000 to fire at Bosnian civilians and children from protected sniper nests overlooking Sarajevo. Nests controlled by Serbian forces. But the most horrifying claim, some allegedly paid more than $100,000 specifically to target children. This was not random chaos. These sniper nests were militarized positions. You could not access them by accident. You needed permission, escort protection, and the reports allege that many of these men came from wealthy circles in the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, and other Western countries. Elite travelers who entered a war zone were escorted to sniper nests, handed rifles, and shown where civilians moved most predictably. A city where more than 10,000 Bosnians had already died, turned into a playground for outsiders with money and no conscience. Survivors claim that certain governments and international actors knew more than they admitted, not because they supported it, but because acknowledging it would expose alliances, embarrass nations, and unravel political narratives. Again, this was not politics. This was the elite versus everyone beneath them. History shows a brutal pattern. When systems collapse, the wealthy do not lose power. They gain it. In ancient Rome, elites paid to watch death as entertainment. In colonial empires, aristocrats funded exotic hunts, sometimes involving people during the Vietnam War. Rumors spread of private individuals paying to join combat missions. War attracts two kinds of people, those trying to survive and those trying to exploit. The sniper tourists represent the latter, individuals whose wealth severed their connection to morality. When someone has unlimited money, they begin to crave the only thing money cannot buy: dominion over life and death, not justice, not ideology, power, pure power. Eyewitness accounts describe the sniper tourists as foreign men speaking unfamiliar languages, men with rifles more advanced than anything soldiers carried, men accompanied by guides or spotters, men who appeared suddenly and vanished just as quickly, and behind their access, someone powerful had to open the door, because no outsider from the US, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, or anywhere else walks into a fortified sniper nest during a siege without explicit permission. This wasn't rogue behavior. It was allowed, tolerated, ignored, not because of ideology, but because of power. Why would someone pay 6 figures to shoot civilians or children? Because when wealth becomes infinite, ordinary pleasure becomes meaningless. The wealthy elite begin to crave danger without risk, violence without consequence, dominance without accountability, the godlike thrill of deciding who lives and dies. They were not motivated by hatred, but by novelty, by thrill, by the rush of unrestrained power in a lawless environment. Sarajevo became their playground. Human beings became targets. The sniper rifle became a toy. Here is the truth most people refuse to confront. This story is not left versus right. It is not one ethnicity versus another. It is not one religion against another. Those are illusions, distractions, narratives designed to divide ordinary people horizontally, so they never look vertically. The real divide is vertical at the top. The ultra-wealthy, the politically protected, the globally connected. Below them, ordinary civilians, the powerless, the nameless, the ones who bleed. More than 10,000 Bosnians were killed by snipers. And in the middle of that suffering, there were men arriving from Western capitals to participate in the slaughter, for a fee, a premium for pleasure. A war zone doesn't erase class hierarchy, it reveals it. If this could happen in Sarajevo, if wealthy foreigners could slip into the hills unnoticed, if the truth took 30 years to resurface, then what do you think is happening right now in conflict zones with no cameras, no journalists, no oversight? What is happening in Sudan, where villages disappear into smoke? What is happening in the Congo, where millions have died unseen? What is happening in Gaza and the West Bank, where global attention flickers and fades? What horrors are unfolding today that won't be exposed for 10, 15, 20 years? Whether the full truth of the sniper tourists ever becomes public, the pattern is already clear. When a civilian's life can be bought for $90,000, when a child's life can be bought for $100,000, you are no longer looking at ideology. You are looking at raw, unfiltered power. When morality collapses, the wealthy do not flee from the darkness. Sometimes they buy a ticket into it.